Well, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, says not a single one of its trucks has been allowed into Gaza for nearly half a year. And the agency says the denial of access is costing lives every single day, amid a growing chorus of international concerns of starvation in the Strip. Jan Egeland is the Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council, and he joins me now. Jan, really appreciate your time with us today. Now, come September, we will see more and more countries, in particular in the West, of course, Australia included, recognize the state of Palestine at the UN General Assembly. Will that make any difference to the humanitarian situation on the ground in Gaza?
Not necessarily the humanitarian situation at all, but it will give encouragement to the Palestinians. Very glad Australia took this step after Norway, Spain and Ireland did it much earlier. The vast majority of countries in the world have recognized Palestine, but there is no Palestine born because other countries recognize it. There has to be actions on the ground, in the field. It's not just UNRWA that is not having access to Gaza. Norwegian Refugee Council and 100 other organizations have not gotten in a single truck since March. Those trucks who come in from some of the UN agencies are routinely now looted because Israel bombed to pieces the civilian Palestinian police, whereas they have done nothing with the mafia-style gangs that loot trucks. On top of that, they have just started these hunger games, which is called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which are some centers in the south where people have to run for the food, and some are shot as they rush to get food. On the West Bank, there is, as you just reported, increased settlements, completely illegal under international law, and part of an occupation that has gone on forever. So I hope Australia and all of these other countries will also follow up with action.
Yes. Now, your organization does have dozens of people on the ground in Gaza. Can you tell us a bit about their experience right now in terms of what the situation is on the ground there?
Yeah, I was with them myself twice since the 7th of October and Hamas's horrors massacring defenseless Israelis on that date. Since then, it's been an endless nightmare for completely innocent Palestinian women and children on the ground, including my own colleagues. Some of them have fled up to 12 times. From their own house that was destroyed to the uncle's house that was destroyed, to another relative's home that was also destroyed, to a tent that was destroyed, and then to living out in the open. You have to go there really to see how indiscriminate this massive bombardment is on a completely trapped population. So the same Israel that is bombing civilian homes, infrastructure, hospitals, etc., is not allowing people to escape. There is no Poland, as there was for the Ukrainians. There is no Lebanon, as there was for the Syrians. They are trapped there. So Australia has to work very hard on the United States that can demand from Israel, enough is enough. This bloodbath has to stop.
But at the same time, you're talking about the U.S., but they're the ones who are also backing, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. You've spoken about that just earlier, describing, the conditions as a Hunger Games situation. So the question is, should the GHF be allowed to continue doing what they're doing at the moment?
I don't think they should. I mean, it sets a very dangerous precedent. If one party militarizes aid, controls aid as part of a military and political strategy, it's a danger to humanity as we have known it for 100 years. Humanitarian aid is supposed to be independent, neutral, and impartial. go to those in greatest needs only. So if you put up boxes in an area and watch it at gunpoint and say, can we now rush, you go. Of course it will be the strongest people who get the aid, not the widow that is disabled with 5 children, whom we gave aid to directly up until March when there was a ceasefire. So I think the action is very clear from Australia and others. Have to demand things on the ground for people who are dying now. Some are starving to death today.
Yes. Jan, I do have to ask you as well, from your experience, has Hamas also been a hindrance to aid being distributed to Gazans?
Well, Hamas has endless sins on their record. And worst of all, the massacres in Israel on the 7th of October, and then they should never be forgotten. They haven't done much to facilitate our aid, but it's not them who are blocking the borders. It's not them who are blocking our aid. They have not interfered in any of the distributions of the Norwegian Refugee Council. In 2015, they tried to interfere with us. We froze all work. They invaded our offices. We continued to freeze our work, and then they yielded, and since they haven't interfered in our work at all.
Yes. Now, if Israel goes ahead with its current plans to embark on a complete takeover of Gaza, what do you foresee happening as far as the welfare of Gaza's most vulnerable people is concerned?
I think it could become even worse, or rather this free fall into famine will just accelerate. However, many of the Gazans say, I mean, can it really get worse? In many ways, this is most self-destructive for Israel themselves. I mean, what would they have left? The Republican Party in the United States, and then the rest of the world will see that they are now outlaws collectively. It's not good for Israel. I've been a friend of Israel now ever since the Oslo Accords in the 1990s. I've never seen a nation, and a regime rather, extreme government, do so much to destroy their own image and to destroy their own moral high ground, which was there on the 7th of October and 8th of October, when we all saw how they were attacked by the violence of Hamas.
Yes. Jan, you were Norway's deputy foreign minister at that time, one of the few officials who oversaw the signing of the Oslo Accords. What are your feelings now seeing what that you are seeing, given how hopeful things were looking 30 years ago?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, really. When we had the Oslo Accord announced to the world by the Rabin government, Yitzhak Rabin, an Israeli war hero. He was the prime minister. Yasser Arafat was the united leader for really the vast majority of the Palestinians. I think both sides and the international community failed the Palestinians and Israeli civilians. We should have pushed through the Oslo Accord. It was a 5-year schedule for getting final status agreements on all of these remaining issues. Now it's much more difficult, in part because there are much more illegal Israeli settlements. Palestinians are much more split. Hamas and PLO are not our enemies. I mean, it's more difficult now, but it's not hopeless. We need the world to push the parties, the two peoples, to make peace. They are incapable now of doing it themselves.
Yes, so my last question before we end, Jan, is, what are your hopes for that scenario to happen, even in the current climax?
Well, they say the night is at its darkest just before daybreak, and I hope this is the bottom, really, that the United States will understand that it has to lead on this. That is the only country that can force the stronger party, which is Israel, to do anything, really. And then you have the Arab world pushing the Palestinians to come with some kind of technocratic governance that could be the counterpart to an Israel that understands they cannot continue to break international law systematically. It will come to haunt them, and it will come to nothing good for Israel. That's the outcome, really. Israel, United States leading with the European Union and Australia on Israel, and then the Arab countries on the Palestinians. Let's hope that could make a difference.
Okay, Jan Egeland, we really do appreciate your time with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.